Welcome into our overtime segment here at SportsSource.tv. Happy to have you join us here. I'm joined myself by Daniel Hood, Shazon Bradley, Will Overstreet, Sterling Hinton, VFL's one and all. This segment always brought to you by Smokin' Joe's. Two great locations, the original store on Paper Mill and the newer store down in Alcoa with the walk-in humidor. Good stuff. I enjoy a good cigar every now and then. The place I go to get one, Smokin' Joe's, because of the selection and the price. Smokin' Joe's. All right. Guys, I'm going to start with a cliche. Daniel said it during the show, so I know what his answer is going to be. Is it true that the most improvement comes from game 1 to game 2?
Yes.
Daniel says yes. From your past experience, that's always the case? There's got to be an exception.
Especially when you're a younger player, the first time getting out in front of 105 or 102,000 people, getting that adrenaline up, finally being able to settle down. Yes, it is. Now, when you're a senior, it's not as drastic as it is from when you're a freshman, sophomore, but I would say, yeah, it is.
Okay.
Just getting a chance to settle down and watch the film, look at your steps and rethink everything, and your nerves are all up, and it's kind of funny. You got to be able to hit a switch. You cross that white line, you hit that switch, you turn it off. You go back the other way, you got to hit that switch and turn it back off. So, big game. First set game is the biggest improvement, I think, anywhere in the season.
Okay. You guys, Will, do you agree?
I think Will be for this team because I don't think I can come out any more less prepared and emotionless, and not come. Hopefully, you can't come out the next game and be prepared because hopefully Virginia Tech was the game you were looking ahead to. It's over Appy State, so therefore you'd be ready to play.
And Virginia Tech didn't look ready to play against Liberty for the first half of that game either. There was another team that came out looking past its opponent or flat or confused, discombobulated, whatever. They struggle with Liberty, which is a whole step and a half lower than Appy State. Sterling, do you believe most improvement comes from week 1 to week 2? And before you answer, if they struggle in week 2, that's going to throw you off in terms of saying the biggest improvement is from week 2 to week 3.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say. So let's go on record right now. Sterling, I'm going to say the biggest improvement from 2 to 3. I absolutely believe the biggest improvement from week 1 to week 2. All my life has been that way. Through all my years playing from freshman to the senior at all levels, it's always the biggest improvement, 1 to 2. You got to get better 2 to 3, but it's not the biggest improvement.
All right, very good. Now let me ask you this one. This team, clearly they didn't want to run Josh Dobbs very much the other night. First half, you give Alvin Kamara 2 touches. Second half, he gets 7 when you're struggling. I think it's pretty clear they wanted to go into this game, just run their bull and not have to go to the finesse guys. Go to the guy that's just a beast. Well, they couldn't do it. Okay, you're protecting these guys. I understand the idea of protecting them. Why, though, if you're protecting these guys, do you have Jalen Reeves-Maybin, your most important defensive player? The series he was in, every play was made by Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Why do you have him coming off an injury, playing on punt coverage? Now, he wound up getting ejected, but if you're protecting some players, wouldn't he be in the protected list? If I had a circle of guys that I'm taking care of, I think I would have found someone else to put out there on punt coverage other than Jalen Reeves-Maybin. And I'm not saying that because he's a starter. I'm fine with teams using starters on special teams. I don't have a problem with that. Him? That I got a question about when you're doing the exact opposite with other players. Am I off base on that? Anybody else have an issue or question about why he's in there on punt coverage?
Well, I think they have faith in him. I played kickoff, punt return. I played every special team there was, and I was a starting player. And some guys, they just look at him, you believe in him, he'll do what he's coached to do, he's disciplined, and he's doable.
But my problem with this is you are thin at linebacker, any other position. There is no guys that come in and back up and really play at anywhere close to that level. So as you saw, it doesn't have necessarily to be injury. It can be a hit, a penalty, in or out. Something you think he's going to do right. So in this case, I think you have to say now, reevaluate the situation and say, you're too valuable for us to have you just be on punt. We can find somebody to fill in that a lot more easily than we can if you're not out there for almost every snap on defense.
And he's the most important defender you have, period.
See, I'm going to go a little different because to me, the most important play in the game is going to be a special teams play, whether it's a punt return, field goal block, whatever it is. Because what other possession do you have a guaranteed chance of scoring points if it's field goal block, or punt return where you can gain not just a first down at a time, but 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 first downs or touchdowns on. So I love having that guy in there. If you need a break, if something happens and you're tired, let me take you out on first down where it's probably a heavy run, put another guy in.
Explain the logic, though. if there is any, that we're not going to let Dobbs run because we don't want to get him hurt. Obviously, they didn't want to run Kamara as much, and yet you've got your most important defender who's coming off an injury and plays a thin position on punt coverage. Now, I get the idea it's important. Starter, I don't have a problem with starter. I'm talking about his injury, his importance to this team, thin position, and you were protecting others. Sterling, you got any logic for that?
I don't have.
Or am I reading it wrong?
I don't have any logic behind that. I mean, I think and
That's usually the case.
I think that's usually the case what you're saying. And I don't have logic, period. I go with that. But my deal is this. You know, you got a guy like Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Maybach hates to get off the field. Sure. I'm certain he probably argued with the coach so he can be on special teams. I think now it's going to be a situation where we have to take some of this consideration the guys are thinking about as far as the decision made as far as how much he plays on special teams. But the guy doesn't want to come off the field. I seen him practicing on offense a couple of times this summer. So he wants to play as much as he can to get ready for the next level.
I'll add the logic to it here. So the logic to me is if you've got one play that's, the make or break in the game, whether you're going to win or lose, that's the guy you're going to want on the field. And I think one special teams rep is more valuable than any one single defensive rep. And so I want to have my guy out there that's going to give me the best chance to win that rep, no matter what it is. So it's not just starters, it's not just someone else. I mean, when you look at Jalen Reeves-Maybin, I mean, the play that he was making right there was incredible. I mean, beat his guy, first guy down the field, was about to be a big hit. And so I think it was a good logic.
The guy doesn't want to come off the field.
Well, yeah, but you're a coach. I mean, there are a lot of guys don't want to come off the field, and the coach says get off the field.
That's the coach's job.
That's the coach's call. And that could be right, but a guy like him, it's hard to argue with it being a senior in order to should be advised for the team.
Not knocking Jalen Reeves-Maybin. I think I said last week, we asked what's the most important body part for Tennessee all year. It's his shoulder.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I would say if they weren't protecting the other guys, if they went out there with the full playbook and let Dobbs run it, then put Reeves-Maybin out there too. I'm just trying to figure out why you protect the special little offensive guys. You take your key defensive guy and say, go get him. But anyway, all right.
QBs are pretty.
Next question.
That's the
Last
balance
question.
between offense and defense.
Speaking of protecting these guys, is it clear now that Tennessee can't worry about getting Dobbs hurt? I mean, isn't it obvious? They think they can run out there and beat teams without using him and his legs because they want to protect him, they want to save him. I get that. You'd rather have him for Florida than Ohio. I understand that. I don't think they're good enough to go out and whip teams without him running.
I want to jump in on that first in this overtime segment and say this. I mean, we've said it during the show, and some people have said it during the week and after the game. I don't think that was the theory going into the game. They were trying to protect Dobbs as much as it looked as if they were. It just was the game plan. It's things that happened during the game, and we have more to do. You can't go into a game thinking you got enough with anybody on the team to protect them in the game of football, a collision sport, not contact, to where you can protect them from getting hurt. You got to play with all your guns, let them all out, and we won the game. Fortunately, we did. I know we got more to let inside the barrel out. This is going to happen.
Okay.
I'm worried because if they didn't hold back and this was the game plan, I'm even less confident now in this team. I mean, that's just the truth. If you weren't holding back, then you all the way go over, you're overrated.
Well, I'm talking about far as protecting somebody.
Well, I know,
Far as
but
they're
not having the playbook to get him out there and put him in plays to get hit.
Well, you saw
they
in the
want to
fourth
do more. We're going to work on this. We're going to work on that. Not how we beat this team.
That last drive, design runs for Josh Dobbs. Earlier in the game, not a lot of design runs for Josh Dobbs. So,
But still, you know how you pretty boys
Yeah.
are a little bit soft. Them nicks and bruises add up when you're a quarterback. As a linebacker, I can put something over the top of that thing and keep on boogieing down. These guys, it's science what they do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try not to get him bruised up.
okay. All right. Daniel, can you team forward to protect Dobbs
I think
in the future?
I just think it's a bad mentality to have to think, well, I got to protect this guy to do this. You go out there, and if you're trying not to do something, a lot of times you end up doing the same thing because you're trying not to do it. And so the guy's back there, he's passive, he's getting, in a habit of just doing this. Well, now I got to run the ball one time. And so I think you're going to cause more injuries that way. So if I'm in the coach's mind, we're going to run our offense until they stop it. And I'm going to take my chances because he's not got hurt in his high school career doing it. He's gotten a little banged up in college, but run your offense, keep him going, and then take your chances.
Will and I were on with John Wilkerson, Jimmy Himes on Friday, 4 o'clock, WNML. John Wilkerson, I think, nailed it. Big believer, as am I, that I'd rather go out there run my full offense, build your lead, then pull the guys out, rather than fool around and wind up having to play Josh Dobbs to the last play in overtime when he takes a helmet in his chest. Wouldn't it have been better to go out and let him do his thing early, build a lead, win the game, and take those guys out and then put the backups in? Now, you never know how a game's going to play out. I know that. But
I agree.
I prefer attack and then rest rather than let's try and win with an arm behind our back, sort of, kind of way. I know you don't see it that way. But
No, I'm not saying I don't see it that way. I kind of agree with you because I'm from that mind state where I want to win the game first, everything else is secondary.
Yeah.
But I want to also integrate into the algorithm that we did get a turnover the first time we were supposed to get the ball. So maybe that played a factor
I agree
emotionally
100% with
on
you
the
because it
teams.
just goes back to, again, if you look where Tennessee is right now, you're trying to keep that fan base energized. You're wanting to have that special season. You're not going to do it without 102, 455. So why would you want to go into a game and give them something to walk away feeling uneasy about?
But here's the thing. I will say this, and we started the show with it. We said it last Thursday on our kickoff show on Fox, and that is, if you win 14-13 or 21-20, people are going to be grumbling today. But if you wind up winning the next 11, nobody's going to care. So
right.
all this debate and the dissection we've just performed, the vivisection we performed on them, they won the game. They won the game.
Win,
so
baby.
there you go. All right. We'll discuss all of that next week right back here on SportsSource.tv, the Virginia Tech game. That'll be a lot to talk about. See you then.